everyone, live from downtown Jackson at the Blacksmith restaurant. It is the USJ Coaches Show. It's our first edition of the entire season. We're glad to have you with us for the next hour as we'll be introducing you to the coaches, the players who have been the standouts in the first 2 weeks of the season, and we hope that you're going to make it a date to join us every Wednesday night at 7:30 right here on the BallGame Blitz Sports Network, powered by Worthy Road Studios. And our thanks go to the good folks here at the Blacksmith for allowing us to be here every Wednesday night when we bring you the Coaches Show. I got Coach Derek Pritchard with me tonight. And, Coach Pritchard, introduce who you have with us tonight.
So Bo Wallace, offensive coordinator, does a really good job for us. We're happy to have him, lucky to have him as part of our staff and our community.
Well, between the two of you, I know that the first 2 weeks of the season, the first week, the 14-7 victory over Peabody, which was a defensive effort but had a strong running attack that night, and then this past week is one of those that had almost all of the pulse beats raising, winning it 20-19. You trailed for 44 minutes and came from behind to take it, and that's the one that always sends everybody home happy with all of that. Tell us what your takeaway has been from the first 2 weeks of the season.
Just the competitive spirit of our kids. You know, we've been preaching since day one. We want to have competitive character. We want our kids to compete. From May until the Trenton Peabody week, we started every practice with a competition period. We had a competition period in the middle of practice, and then we ended practice with a competition period. So that's just kind of the embodiment that we want our kids to have, is no matter the circumstances, no matter what's going on around them, maybe the chaos down, what the score is, that we're just competing every day. And so I was proud for our kids, proud for our boys, for all the work they had done, and just to see it come to fruition the way that it did. A lot of kids would have quit, down 13-0. Late in the third quarter, it would have been easy to cast it in and say, well, it just wasn't our night, but they didn't do that. They fought for 48 minutes, which is what we preach, and we knew it was going to be a fight for that long. And so I was proud and happy for them that they were able to come out on top.
Coach, I also want to ask you, we talked a little bit before we started here this evening about the intense heat that we had, and that was we had it actually going back all the way to the Jamboree,
yep.
But it really forced you to have to do adjustments in your practice sessions. Tell everybody how you had to make those adjustments,
right.
What you did last week.
So on Monday, we went helmets only. The heat index wasn't as bad Monday, so we were able to go helmets only for part of the practice and then take them off for the rest of the practice. And then Tuesday, we had to pivot to morning practices. Tuesday, when the heat index really got pretty excessive, over 104, we pivoted to morning practice. So we went at 6 a.m., and what that did was it really condensed our practice time down to an hour. Normally our practices go right at 2 hours or an hour and 55 minutes. And so that really condensed our time and made us be more efficient, made meeting time and film time be that much more important after school. And so we were able to go basically offense and defensive teams in the mornings, and then special teams on Thursday morning, and then have meetings after school. So it really changed kind of the dynamic, but our kids had good focus. And we talked about the adversity. We don't want the adversity to affect how we play and what our approach is. And so I was really proud of how our kids responded. We had every kid at every practice. Nobody was not there. So I was really proud of their efforts.
Bo, let's talk a little bit about how life was this past Friday night in a situation where the team was having to come from behind, and you're having to, and I'm going to talk to Derek about this as well, you're having to play a flex bone offense and a team that's running the triple option, which is not the easiest thing for the defense to have to handle. But from your standpoint, particularly keeping the guys focused when they were down as they were, and you're down there and it's tied 13-all. They go down and get it and make it 19-13. Particularly keeping this team, because you mixed both the pass and the run in that game-winning drive, but it was the run that led to the winning score.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the makeup of our team currently is, we have a very explosive back in Noah. And if we can get him some space, he can make some guys miss and make some plays. I think you saw early in that game, just, like Coach said, us only getting team periods. We missed our individual work to where, we could really hone in on what those guys were looking for. So really just had to make the adjustment and get them to the sideline and, tell them where they were missing it and things like that. And really just stayed with the plan the whole time. And kind of caught some rhythm in the second half and, was able to make some plays.
Let's talk about this as well. When you are developing an offense and trying to tailor that to the talent that you have, what are the challenges in doing that? Because there are a lot of coaches who will say, okay, we're going to run this offense and you're going to adapt to this, but tailoring it to the people you have.
Yeah, I think, we're still currently doing that. I think, we knew going in kind of, what we thought our guys could do, but kind of when the lights come on, you really get to see, the things that guys do well. So I think, we're still in the process of, ironing everything out. And so, I'm excited to see, as the weeks come, other guys getting involved and us being able to distribute the ball in different places. Kind of talking about the makeup of the offense, that's something we've done as a staff because, I come from kind of a background of throwing it a lot, but, with Noah and his, explosiveness and his skill set, the things he's able to do in the run game, really lean on Coach King and kind of and Coach Gary and kind of scheme up a run game that we feel like is going to work. So, really proud of our O-line, the way they played, and Noah, and also, our other back, TJ's been making some really good plays.
Derek, I wanted to talk to you about the size of the offensive lines. You're as well as head coach, you're defensive coordinator.
Yep.
The size these first 2 weeks of the lines you've been having to face have been enormous. I mean, You're talking about 1 week 305, 290, 270 in there. Your team seemed to have the ability to bounce off of that and not let that intimidate them.
Yep.
How do you really coach that when you know you're going to be facing linemen that are so much larger?
Yeah, we kind of laughed about it last week because their center was 305 and their left guard was 310, I think, and our nose goes at 218, and so you're talking about 600 plus coming at 218 every single play pretty much, and so that was kind of a comical moment for us. But our guys, we teach technique, we teach leverage, we teach pad level, how to play with your hands, how to squeeze down blocks. Our center goes about 170 pounds, but he fights his tail off and he just competes every play. And we teach our guys that, we're going to be in the right position. We don't have to block him for 5 seconds. We just got to block him for 2.5, 3 seconds, and by that time the ball's off or the running back's through the hole. And so most of the time, if we can get in the right position, have a quicker first step, and be explosive to the punch and deliver the blow, then we're going to be in the right position, for the first 2.5 seconds.
Let's also talk about this. What is the greatest difficulty in defending the triple option? Because it's not something everybody runs.
Right.
But what's the most difficult thing about that?
One word: discipline. Because every single play, you got 3 guys that could carry the ball. It could be the fullback on the dive, the quarterback on the keep, or the pitch man on the pitch. And so, especially when you have a young team as we have, or an inexperienced team as we have, eye discipline is so huge and is so key. And just because it's every single play for 48 minutes, and they're going to have long, sustained drives. And if you get out of gap, or if you get off discipline for one play, they could pop it for a long run or maybe a touchdown. And so being able to stay disciplined for 48 minutes is a challenge for any football team, especially a team as young and as inexperienced as we were. I thought our kids grew up a lot in the first 2 weeks. It was good for us, being who we are and the makeup of our team this year, to be in those close competitive games, to not be in a runaway game, to where they had to compete for 48 minutes because they grew up a lot in those 2 football games. And so I was really proud of the discipline that they had for 48 minutes because, like I said, it takes a lot to be able to focus for that long.
Bo, let's also look at it from this standpoint. For the folks at home who don't necessarily understand the X's and O's of football, as soon as Friday night is over, how quickly do you go to work on the game plan for the following week?
Yeah, I think Saturday you're right on it. We get the film on Saturday morning, and Saturday night I was at home just kind of putting formations in, figuring out coverages, trying to get an idea of what they do, and then me and Coach Pritchard meet on Sundays, and then the rest of our staff comes in, and he kind of talks about what he sees. I talk about what I see, and it's a week-long thing. It's you put in a lot of hours, and it's definitely worth it when you go out and you get a win like we did Friday night.
I was going to ask this too: is that practicing against the triple option?
Sure.
If you got a team like that, how difficult is that for that one period? Because I know I've heard a lot of coaches at the college level talk about, we will spend, if we know we've got a team coming in week 8 that's triple option, we will spend X number of minutes in every practice every week just working on the triple option. Elaborate on that.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's obviously a vastly different scheme than what we run. And we knew going into it, as anytime you play the triple option, the flex bone particularly, that you can't emulate that in practice, especially if you're a spread offense as we are. It's just different than how you coach your own kids and how you come off the ball. And we were fortunate. Coach Bo here actually played quarterback last week for the scout team. He spent a little time in the triple option in high school, running the midline and the veer, so he gave us a really good look. So we were fortunate enough to have him do that. And we knew going into it, it was going to take a minute for our kids to adjust. And that's what you saw in that first drive. It was going to take us a drive, maybe 2 drives to figure out, okay, they're coming out at this pad level. This is how fast this is hitting. This is how we're supposed to be fitting the midline. And then once we figured it out and we settled down and we made some adjustments, our kids settled in and we played really good football for the next 3 quarters.
Bo, we got about maybe a minute and 15 seconds. If you can, just summarize for us the team that you have. What about the character of this team, and what is it that you like about it?
Yeah, they're awesome kids, really smart kids. We're able to kind of do a lot offensively, pre-snap with motions and things like that. And the kids work really hard. I come from kind of coaching junior college, so these kids really understand football and can do a lot offensively. With the inexperience, we haven't been able to do as much as we want. But hopefully we'll be able to continue, on our continue with our installs and things like that and keep getting better.
Well, I'll put it this way. The first 2 weeks of the season have had some very bright moments. I know there was one of those games that there was one prediction out there that they figured you were going to lose by 3 touchdowns.
Yep.
And I've had many coaches who say, pick against us because it just makes us that tougher in a case like that. But it's been a joy to see how they have adapted to 2 different styles of offense that they've had to be challenged by, and again, going against the much bigger lines that you had both on both sides of the ball. So appreciate you both being with us here. And, of course, we're going to keep for different times of the program. We'll be keeping Coach Pritchard with us. But, Bo, thanks so much for coming and spending some time with us this evening. We're going to come back and visit with one of the players that you have seen on USJ football that has been a standout, and we'll be right back with this in just a moment. Steve Beverly here on the USJ Coaches Show.
Downtown is thriving, and the Blacksmith restaurant is leading the pack. From the rustic dining room to the unmatched patio, eating local with family is what we're about. Live local, eat local, relax local.
At Nest Realty Jackson, connections and relationships are at the heart of everything we do. We wake up every day with the goal of helping our agents build trust, relationships, and community. Let's connect.
I will be the greatest, greatest, greatest. 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 I will be
Steve Beverly back with you here live from the Blacksmith in downtown Jackson with the USJ Coaches Show. And Coach Derek Pritchard is with us with one of his standout players. Would you introduce him for us, please?
Yeah, Sam McMillan here, senior, tight end and a linebacker. Sam's kind of he runs our defense. We lean on him a lot to get us lined up and get us in and out of checks. He's a veteran. He started for a couple years here. New role on offense, catching a lot of balls for us, and a big part of what we're doing this year on the offensive side of the ball, which is new for him, but he's embraced it, and he's been really good for us.
Well, Sam, when they exercise the tight end on offense, then that means you are going to get some touches in there, and it's worked out very, very well. Let me talk to you a bit about making that adaptation to playing on both sides of the ball? What have been the biggest challenges for you?
Really just hydrating, to be honest.
That's a good answer for that. Yeah, because it has to, particularly with the heat that we've had the first 2 weeks and with the Jamboree. You didn't have to go 4 quarters in the Jamboree, but these first 2 weeks, it's been a challenge out there.
It's been hot.
Tell us about particularly on the other side of the ball. And you were in on so many tackles the other night, and either you were teaming up with somebody or making one himself. I've talked to Coach Pritchard in the first segment about the challenges of going against the team that's running the triple option as they do. What's the toughest part about that when you're playing defense?
Really just trying to be more physical than the person in front of you since you're tired and all that.
All right, now, when you shift gears and, all right, we've changed over and you're on the offensive side of the ball, you got to get a different type of mindset on that. And in particular, what kind of expectations do you have of yourself when you are playing tight end as opposed to being on defense?
Really just to block the guy in front of me.
And be ready for, say, if they're going to use you on a pass pattern on that as well.
Yes, sir.
Okay. In coaching a player like Sam, tell us, because you say he's one of the leaders of this ball club, tell us what he brings to the table as far as leadership is concerned.
Intensity. When Sam speaks, the other players listen, right? And chaos can be going on around us, and Sam will get us going in the right direction. We lean on him a lot to make sure that we're all together, we're all on the same page. We've really got a good group of seniors, a good group of players overall, but Sam's definitely one of the ones that gets us going in the right direction. And, just to speak to his character is, when I don't think that he really thought that we were going to use him a whole lot on offense back in the summer. We kept telling him, hey, we're going to use you. This is our vision for you and our offense. And it didn't really register for him probably until we actually got to our scrimmages. And, he saw how much he was going to play. And then that's just come to fruition as he's gotten better and better at that position and being more of an integral part of our offense and what we do.
Tell us about, Sam, the camaraderie that you have with your teammates, and particularly why that has helped this team, particularly in the first 2 weeks, to be able to take on victories. You had one that was pretty much a defensive effort, and then this past week having to come from behind because it was not until there were a little less than 4 minutes left in the game that you took the lead. Tell us what it's like to have that kind of communication and camaraderie with your teammates.
I think it's very much like a brotherhood. When someone down or drops a ball or makes a bad play, we're always picking each other up and making sure that we can move on to the next play and be just as good. There's always words of motivation from everyone out in the field. Something happens, they pick each other up, and we just move on.
I always love to talk to players about what they do away from the field. What are your interests that you have away from football?
Well, if I'm not playing football, I may play a little bit of golf.
There you go.
Or fish a little bit, and really about it.
Well, that keeps you occupied quite distinctively on that. Now, what are your goals after graduation from USJ? What do you want to do?
I'd like to go to the University of Knoxville and do civil engineering.
Civil engineering. And what would you like to use that for as far as a career?
Either be a civil engineer at a company and hopefully one day try to own my own construction company, or that's pretty much about it, honestly.
You'll have a little bit of business background the same way if you do that as well.
Yes, sir.
It's tremendous to see those kind of goals, because so many young people, you get to that age and they're not really sure, which is okay. But to know that you've got that really on your background. Is anybody in your family have that kind of background?
Yes, sir, my dad.
Yeah. And so it's just really, you got it in the genes where that's concerned. Derek, in particularly when you're dealing with him on the defensive side, and Bo's dealing with him on the offensive side, how important is it to have somebody who has just such a sharp mind to be able to focus both ways?
For us on defense, it's the Mike linebacker or the inside linebackers have to have a good grasp of what's going on. We had a conversation yesterday where we had put something in, and he didn't have the greatest grasp of it. Then we have a conversation about, this is what we're doing, this is what this looks like. And for him to understand everything that's going on, because he has to know where to fit, he has to know how the coverage is working behind it, it's critical for me that he can get us in and out of good sets and in and out of good looks. And so having him on the field is like having another coach out there, especially on the defensive side.
After a game like Friday night, as hot as it was, and I know it was tough to stay hydrated, I mean, what is it like for you? Are you just absolutely spent in your when you get home? What's it like after a game like that where you are facing that kind of heat?
Normally, right after a game, I go home and eat whatever my mom cooks.
And what's your favorite thing that she cooks?
I don't really know. She's a pretty good cook, so about anything.
In other words, anything she puts on the table, you'll handle with that. In school at USJ, what are your favorite subjects?
I like some math. I like strength and conditioning class.
Yeah, I'm sure it makes your coach happy. My wife would like it because she was a math professor, so she would like hearing that you enjoy that in particular. Tell me, as a family, do you have siblings?
No, sir.
No. So you and I have the same background because we are both only children. What is your family like to do together?
Well, we always eat dinner together.
That's a great thing.
And then after every game, we sit down and rewatch the game on the Facebook Live, recorded.
Yeah.
And
so you go through now. When you watch a game back like that, do you try to go back and critique yourself play by play, or what do you do?
Normally, right after, I just watch the game. Then later on, around probably Sunday night when I get some free time, kind of watch it a few times and watch who we play next week.
Yeah. And what do you grasp, particularly the first time through? What are you looking for? I always am always interested in the player's mind. What are you looking for when you start on tape scouting the opposition?
Looking for tendencies, really, and what ways our offense or defense could break them down and beat, like what play we would run to beat what they just did.
So it's almost like being a coach on the field yourself when you're doing that.
Somewhat.
Yeah. And in particular, Derek, walk us through what you do with players like Sam and the whole team whenever you are going through tape of the opposition.
So we look at, I've always said we never try to fit a square peg into a round hole, so we don't want to try to do something that our kids can't do or maybe can't comprehend. There's so much that we know as coaches because we've been doing this a long time, but it doesn't mean that we can get that communicated to our kids. And so having a good understanding of what they can do and what we can actually teach them and get done in a short period of time of a week. Really you've got 3 preparation days before a Friday game because Thursday is really a walkthrough or a run through on our Thursdays. And so it's really, we look at our kids, Sam and the other guys, and okay, what is their skill set versus the teams that we're playing, and how can we best use their skill sets versus our opponents, and then putting them in the best possible position to be successful.
Sam, tell us what it's like playing for Coach Pritchard.
He's really brought it in together as like a team and a family. He's always pushing us to be better and be our best. Pretty much.
How hard is it for you when you go through a season and then you get to the end of it, regardless of whether you go deep into the playoffs or whatever the outcome is at the end? How tough is it for you to lay football behind at that point, or are you is it still going through your mind about football?
Well, normally in the past few years, I've kind of sit down, take about a week's rest or something, and get right back to football. And this year, I don't really know because I'm not going back to football. So,
and again, trying to get into some things about off the field. What's your favorite kind of entertainment that you enjoy?
What do you mean?
Any kind, whether it's music or movies, whatever. What's your favorite?
I like watching some TV on the free time.
Okay, what's your favorites?
I like Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad.
It's a pretty good
right.
one.
Yeah.
Better Call Saul, I guess, kind of around the same.
You enjoy stuff that's on streaming?
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, it's a brand new generation here. Of course, I watch streaming too, but there's so many people that you get to my age and you look at it and you say, I don't know what that stuff is, but I know where you're at on that.
Yes,
so
sir.
That's pretty good. Derek, in just looking at observations across the board and particularly as a defensive coordinator as well as the head coach, and we've reached this point, it's hard to believe we're already a fifth of the way through the season because these weeks go by very fast. But what has been the most positive thing that you have seen about your defense all the way across the board? What's the most positive thing?
Just the way that they bought into what we're trying to do. You know, we come in and we've kind of changed the structure of what has been done here in the past, just kind of because of what my philosophy is a little different. And they've really bought into what we're doing, and just being disciplined and focused and intentional about the process. You know, we've preached from day one, you know, trust the process. We're process oriented, not results oriented. If the process is in place, and the results will come at the end. You know, and I tell our kids all the time, you know, I don't want you to graduate and have any regrets, especially for these seniors, because they're going to blink and they're going to graduate and they're going to blink and they're going to be 35 and they're going to blink again, they're going to be 65. And so, you know, every day that you have practice is an opportunity to get better, so don't waste it, because you don't want to look on Friday night, you know, and be on the wrong end of a football game and say, well, we had a bad Tuesday practice and that's why we lost the game. And so we try to avoid that as much as possible, just by, you know, trying to take advantage of every day and every opportunity that we have to get better. And our kids have really bought into that.
I can see that just from what I've seen in the first 2 weeks. Sam, we're getting down to the final 2 minutes, but when you were down Friday night, 19-13, and you get the ball back, and suddenly you've got about 65 yards, you got to maneuver to get in for that closing touchdown. What goes through your mind knowing, okay, we got to do this, we got this? What goes through your mind?
Pretty much just give everything we got, and if it's your time to catch the ball or seal a block, or do it and get in the end zone.
What did you think when the defense came up with that fumble recovery there in the final minute of the game and that salted it away?
I was pretty excited. I mean, it was the nail in the coffin.
Well, and I want to ask you this as a player too. You've got a absolutely huge student section who was out there, and they were behind you constantly. They were standing for the whole game. What does that kind of support mean to you as players?
I think it's awesome. I mean, I remember when the score became 13-13. I couldn't even hear anybody talk. It was loud.
Yeah, it's just been amazing to see how much that it doesn't matter where you are on the scoreboard. You know, getting down 13-0, they were still right there with you. You didn't see anybody plopping down on the seats. They were very, very happy, and of course they went home happy at the end of that outcome. And as a coach, Derek, what does that mean to you to see the student body have that kind of support?
Such a great community. I know when I took the job and, you know, I started integrating myself here, you know, one thing that people always said was USJ is going to turn out. And I haven't been disappointed, not only in football events but in every sporting event. The parent support has been unbelievable. The student support has been unbelievable. Our students go and support our kids no matter what the sport is. They're going to turn out and they're going to be there to support each other. And it's just a great community and great bond they have. And it goes beyond sports.
Well, Sam, it's been a joy to have you with us tonight and to get to know you a bit better. We're going to be looking for another outstanding evening against Trinity Christian Academy on Friday night. But thank you for your time, for being with us tonight.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All
right. We will be back with more of the USJ Coaches Show live from the Blacksmith Restaurant in downtown Jackson right after these messages.
Downtown is thriving, and the Blacksmith Restaurant is leading the pack. From the rustic dining room to the unmatched patio, eating local with family is what we're about. Live local, eat local, relax local.
No matter where you are, you can shop 24/7 at HumboldtDodgeChryslerJeep.com with the area's largest used car inventory.
Turn to the experts. Since 1955, Garrett Plumbing and Heating has been the leader in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning service and installation for West Tennessee. A proud supporter of USJ Bruin Athletics, we are your local Carrier Factory authorized dealer. Call Garrett Plumbing and Heating, 668-3339, for all of your plumbing, heating, and air needs.
Steve Beverly back live with you from the Blacksmith restaurant in downtown Jackson as we continue with the USJ Coaches Show. We are here every Wednesday night for now until the rest of the season. 7:30 we'll be here, and we hope you'll join us. If you'd like to come down and be here in person, we'd love to have you. And the food is fabulous here, one of our sponsors. USJ football, as well as all of the sporting events that Worthy Road Studios and the BallGame Blitz Sports Network offers for you, and we are so delighted to be able to do that. Coach Derek Pritchard now has somebody from the offensive and defensive line.
Right.
Tell us who we got here tonight.
Mario Figueroa, 2-year starter in the offensive line, a new player development on the defensive line, so he got his first real taste at playing defense this past Friday night, and we were happy to have him. He had a lot of development the last year as a football player, and he's doing a really good job for us.
All right, Mario, I got to get right into this with you. What's it been like to play on both sides of the ball?
It's definitely an experience. Like last week, I mean, I probably played in the hottest game I'll ever play in, and I mean, after,
we hope.
yeah, I hope. And then we got in the halftime room, and in the locker room, and I'm sitting there like, core heat's on fire. Like, I've never felt anything like it. So it was pretty crazy, but I thoroughly enjoyed defense. It was fun.
When they first approached you about the fact of playing both sides of the line, what did you think?
Well, I mean, I figured I was pretty conditioned, but I was worried about, like, knowing the plays and stuff like that. So I looked up and got on Huddle and looked at all of our play calls and stuff, which I knew most of them just by listening and stuff. But I just wanted to make sure that I knew them all.
What a challenge is it to communicate that to a guy that you know he's got the mind and the skill set, but to communicate plays on both sides of the ball?
Yeah, well, we talk about there's a cup that our kids have, and we pour water into it. They can only handle so much. That's one of the challenges that you have in a small school is you have to rely on players to play both sides of the ball, and we actually start 6 or 7 on both sides. Offense and defense, and some of them are freshmen. We start some freshmen on both sides, and so, they got schoolwork, they've got social, they've got social life, and they've got everything else they have going on, and then you're learning two sides of the ball, and so it's very important. It just speaks to the testament of the character that our kids have. I haven't had one kid, that shied away from doing whatever we've asked them to do, whether it's play offense, defense, special teams, whatever it is, and so they've been really good about it.
Mario, let's dovetail on what Coach just said there and talk about what it's like to suddenly how do you manage your time between your academics and then doing this, and then also you're having to concentrate on 2 different areas of the game. How do you manage your time?
I guess senior year is a lot easier. I don't have as much homework now because I've got like only 2-3 classes really that I really got to put some effort into. Like last year, junior year, I had 7. And so now, like, being a 2-year starter and, like, going into senior year, especially with the offensive line, like, when they call a play, I mean, it's like just it's like muscle memory pretty much. I know exactly what I'm going to do in that. But defense, I will say it's hard. It was harder to get down. It still is. It's still a learning curve, but I'm starting to really enjoy it, and it's all just trying to find the balance.
Now, the first 2 weeks, you have faced some lines that have some really big guys. We're talking about 305, 290, 270. Mm-hmm. How have you been able to deal with that and come away successfully with these 2 victories?
I mean, it's really, like I say, when I'm a right tackle, so when I see a guy, I really hope he's, like, huge. I'd rather deal with a very big guy than a compact, fast guy. So, like, when I go against when I'm on defensive line, I think they think the same way, and so speed is just a huge advantage on the D line. It really is.
Well, that's and that's one thing that I think a lot of people really underestimate when they think about being on the line, because they don't think about sometimes that speed and being able to dodge your opponent, and particularly if you're on defense and you're trying to make a sack, it's huge when it goes in that category. Sir. On that. Let me ask you this: I asked this earlier of Sam McMillan. What do you enjoy doing away from the football field? What are your favorite interests?
I like to hang out with my friends a lot. One of those, and then I like to hang out with my family too. Those are probably my top 2.
Tell us about your family.
So I got 2 younger siblings. My brother, who's a sophomore in high school, and then my sister, who just started middle school. and her name's Izzy, and my brother's name's Jack, and they all go to USJ.
Who gets picked on the most?
I don't really do it much. It's my younger brother who does it to my little sister.
See, I ask that question of every athlete at Union University when we do something like this because I get the most interesting answers in that category. Tell us what about you as a family. Well, before I ask you that, when did you know, as you were growing up, when did you know that you really wanted to play football?
Bears. We were doing Bears, and we had like a scrimmage. I was in 5th grade. And I had like this huge tackle. I've never like been able to do that because basketball always gets so physical and foul out and stuff. So football, I could do that. And so when I did that, I was like, okay, like this is pretty fun. Like this is something I can do.
Okay, and tell us about what your family enjoys doing. Excuse me. You get one of those. The one thing I haven't been able to get rid of is the sinuses at this point of the week.
Me too.
But tell us what your family enjoys doing together.
I mean, really, like, we like to sit at home, and then, like, when it comes, like, we're all night owls. Like, none of us go to bed. So
Me too. I'm with you.
Yes, sir. So we'll, like, all go sit out on the back porch and just talk all night. It's probably my favorite thing.
I got a feeling you don't do that quite as much during football season because they expect you to get some rest.
Yeah, no, not as much. But definitely, like, during the, when I'm not in football, I stay up pretty late.
Well, you know, you're a guy after my own heart because usually it's a pretty late one for me as well. Derek, you get a young man like, you know, we had Sam earlier and now Mario in talking about this. How important is his senior leadership to the rest of the team?
That's key. You know, all the younger classmen, they look up to the example that the seniors are setting, and that's really the tone setter for your culture. Is how hard the guys who are playing work. And your best players have to be your hardest worker and have a culture that you want to build. And that's something that we don't have a problem with is our seniors and really all of our guys, juniors and all the way down, they really work hard every day. And so if your hardest workers are your best players and vice versa, I mean, it's a tone setter for your culture. And that's what it's about. You know, you win the close games depending on how your culture is. You know, talent will only take you so far, but culture is what wins championships.
We are visiting with head coach Derek Pritchard and with Mario Figueroa, offensive and defensive lineman for the USJ Bruins. And remember, we will have the game live for you this coming Friday night. 7 o'clock will be the kickoff. We hope that we don't have anything that pushes it to 8 this week, but 7 o'clock will be the kickoff, and we will be over at Trinity Christian Academy, and always an interesting matchup between those two. Sam, Mario. We had Sam earlier. Yeah.
Yep. Yes,
sometimes you just get it all mixed together with that. But Mario, in preparing for, let's say, the next opponent, what are the key things that you do to be ready for that? The coaches have certain things they expect of you. What do you do to be ready?
I actually go on Worthy Roads on their YouTube channel, and I just pick through like the whole game, like the whole entire game. So that's one thing I do, and I'll watch it over and over again. I mean, like me and Sam Saturday night stayed up like super late watching TCA's game against Chester.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's just one of the things I like to do, and drink tons of water always.
Yeah, he said that one of the toughest things about these last two games is staying hydrated.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us what the effect is that, having to go back. I remember when I was in high school, it was the opposite viewpoint. They said, don't put a lot of water in them because they're going to get cramps, et cetera, like that. And then suddenly we got to the 80s and it changed, and they said you can't get enough water, particularly to keep yourself. What is it about that in particular for you? I mean, how frequently are you going to try to hydrate during a game if we have the heat like we had Friday night?
I mean, during a game, like when two of our guys were hurt, they were the water boys. I mean, every time I'd go over the sideline, they'd have one, and then I'd go to, like, the jugs that we'd have sitting over there. I mean, constantly. You just have to.
In particular, let's look at this, because I always like to ask all the players whenever we have them on for the show. And what are your goals after graduation?
I want to go to college and then major in biology, minor in chemistry, and then I want to go to med school and then do something there.
Okay, you hadn't decided maybe what kind of doctor you'd like to be?
I'm in between like 3 different kinds: plastic surgery, dermatology, and then what's the last one? I forget the name
Well,
of it.
whatever it is, it's going to be you're going to be a good one, I'm sure, with that. And what led you into that direction? What's motivated you to go in that direction?
So my mom's a nurse practitioner, and my dad's an ER doctor. And so, like, I've been around it all my life. Like, blood was a normal thing. Like, my head was split open. They were just like, oh, it's fine. Like, we'll just go staple it real quick and then go on. But and I've always been, like, fascinated by it. I've always thought it was cool and everything like that. So well, then you've got it in the genes. There's no question. You've got a career that's right ahead of you. Derek, when you see young men like him who already have a specific goal that they want to reach, how much does that really help intangibly as far as being a leader on a ball club?
Sure. So when I took the job, I met with each player on the team last spring, and the bulk of those conversations were about not about football. They were about what are your goals and who are you and what do you want to do in life after football and life after high school, because that's what this is about. Less than 1% are going to go on and play college football, and 99% are going to go and do something else. Yeah. And so I had a conversation with each one of them, the seniors, specifically about, okay, you're going into your senior year. What's the plan after high school? Because we got to have a plan. And then what are we doing to be able to execute that plan? And so, all of our guys have a definitive plan for the most part on what they want to do. That's the thing about going to a college preparatory school is they're preparing you not only just for life, but for life after high school, and what are you going to do in college. And so, that's one good thing about going to USJ is they push you and have you prepared to go into at the next level in whatever you're going to do, whether it's athletics or education.
And Mario, academics play such a huge part in that because that's first and foremost the important thing. What does it mean to you to be successful in the classroom as well as on the athletic field?
Yeah, I mean, my parents always told me, I always just wanted to go outside or do whatever, and they always told me, like, grades come before sports. That's what I always got taught. And so it kind of made me realize, like, especially my junior year when stuff got serious, talking about colleges and all that, I was like, okay, this, like, really matters now, and I've really got to step it up. So grades play a huge part, and then football is just second. It has to be for me.
And looking ahead, when football season is over, how hard is it for you to just put that aside, or do you still have it in your mind, man, I wish we had another couple of games left?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, like, especially last year we lost the semis. I mean, it was just like, what am I going to do now? I had no idea. I was so used to always going to the field, and then going up and practicing, but then it just stopped. So I'm like, all right, I guess I'll just focus on school more and maybe work out during the offseason, trying to get a little bit stronger.
What about your relationship with your teammates? How important is that for you?
Oh, yeah, it's huge. A lot of why I love football is because of my teammates. Like Sam, my best friend, a lot of the senior guys. I love all those guys. I mean, the juniors we grew up together through football, and then now the freshmen are coming up. So it's like I'm a senior. I got to kind of show them what to do and what's the expectation and all that, and also create a bond with them.
It must make you feel a lot more confident when you have a young man like him out there on the field.
Absolutely. You know what you're going to get. You're going to get a guy that plays hard, not just with him, but with all of our guys. You're going to get guys that play hard, that care. And if you got those two things, I say all the time, I don't want to ever walk off of a field and say a team played harder than us and a team was tougher than us. Win, lose, or draw, those are two things that I wanted to say when we walk off the field, that we were the toughest team and that we played harder than the opponent. And for the first 2 weeks, we've been able to do that. That's because of guys like Mario and Sam and all the rest of our guys.
Well, Mario, it has been great to get to know you up close and personal here in these past 12 minutes, and we look forward to an exciting game on Friday night against Trinity and wish you all the best of luck.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So, Mario Figueroa on the offensive and defensive line for the USJ Bruins, and when we come back, we'll talk to the coaches and we'll preview what's ahead on Friday night against Trinity. So stay with us, everybody.
Downtown is thriving, and the Blacksmith restaurant is leading the pack. From the rustic dining room to the unmatched patio, eating local with family is what we're about. Live local, eat local, relax local.
At Nest Realty Jackson, connections and relationships are at the heart of everything we do. We wake up every day with the goal of helping our agents build trust, relationships, and community. Let's connect.
Save thousands on a new Nissan at Carlock Nissan.
You should already be here.
Special interest rates as low as 0%.
You should already be here.
We have cars, trucks, SUVs, and the all-new electric Nissan Ariya.
You should already be here.
We even have no payments for 90 days.
You should already be here.
Save thousands on a new Nissan at Carlock Nissan.
You should. You know what? I'm not going to say it.
Carlock Nissan of Jackson.
No matter where you are, you can shop 24/7 at HumboldtDodgeChryslerJeep.com with the area's largest used car inventory.
Steve Beverly back live from the Blacksmith, downtown Jackson, Tennessee, and we invite you to come down any day of the week or any evening and enjoy one of the best meals that you could ever possibly have right here, right across the street from the farmers market, and I guarantee you and your family will not be sorry. And we thank the Blacksmith also for being one of our sponsors of USJ Sports on the BallGame Blitz Sports Network and Worthy Road Studios. Well, head coach Derek Pritchard and offensive coordinator Bo Wallace back with us. It's time now to talk a little bit about Friday night and see what's ahead. Trinity Christian Academy. It's a young season so far.
Yep.
What have you seen so far and being able to look at tape, and what do you see that we will see on the field on Friday night?
TCA is they're a really disciplined football team. They are well coached. Darren Bolin over there does a really good job. I actually spent some time with him at Union City for a brief period of time, so he and I have a relationship. And I coached at Trinity Christian Academy for a short period of time, so I know some of the guys over there, some of the staff. Actually, one of their coaches played for me, and so I know the character and kind of some of the things that they're trying to do. And those guys play really hard over there. They're going to execute, and they're not going to beat themselves. And we got to be really disciplined. Again, it's going to be another challenge for us. They got a really good back on offense, and they got a skill guy receiver that's really good. We've got to make sure that he doesn't blow the top off and get over top of us. But we've got, it's another game where they run some option offense. It's not necessarily like what we just seen last week, but it's a different flavor of the same stuff. And so we've got to make sure that we're disciplined for 48 minutes and that we're glued in on our assignments. And it's going to be a good challenge for us.
Bo, in trying to prepare for this team offensively, let's look back to what it was last week, in which you mixed the pass and the run extensively during the course of the game. Of course, ultimately in the end, it was your workhorse, Noah Spencer, who had his second straight 100-yard-plus game. But trying to develop a game plan, and we talked a little bit about this in the opening segment, to develop a game plan that's tailored to the opponent that you have. What particularly with Trinity are you going to be looking at doing to counteract their defense?
Yeah, I think each week you want to go in and try to be very balanced. Like Coach said, a really disciplined football team. So, we have to be efficient with our possessions, and they're a defense that's not going to beat themselves. So we're going to have to go out and earn it, and just have a good week. We have one more day left to prepare and kind of get in there and make sure our quarterbacks know what's going on, and running backs know what we're trying to do in the run game, and block well on the perimeter. So just excited to get one more day to prepare and go out and try to get a win on Friday.
Yeah, I was going to ask both of you, because the hard practice are the first 3 days, but then you do what you call a run through. A lot of coaches will say a walk through, but what really consists of that fourth day when you do the walk or run through? Yeah,
so if you come to one of our practices Monday through Thursday, the goal is that we're not standing around. I really don't want our guys standing around. I want them getting better, and that's freshman through 12th grade. Today, we're doing team, and the guys are not involved in team. They're down running 7-on-7, and so I can't. I want all of our guys being developed all the time, and the way that we practice is fast. And so when we go to Thursdays, it's a mock script, and we're running through a game. And we do it fast, and we cover that in it's about a 55-minute practice. And we start with kickoff and kickoff return, and we go offense, defense, punt, the whole thing. And so, but it's just really polishing up all the things that we've done all week. So that fourth day is really about getting those guys really feeling comfortable and good and confident going into Friday. You practice the 3 days, and you install, and you repeat, and you practice the situations, third downs, goal line, red zone. And then Thursday, that fourth day, is all about polishing those things and making sure the guys feel confident. If we don't like it on Wednesday, we throw it out. And so we want our guys playing fast on Friday, and that comes from being confident in what they're seeing and what they're doing.
Bo, when you are in that kind of situation, I know a lot of coaches will script out, say, their first 10 to 15 plays of the game. What's your philosophy on that?
Yeah, I've done that at a couple different places that I've been, but, I think it's helped me more this year just kind of watching and seeing how people are adjusting to the things that we're doing and then just kind of calling it off that. So I've done it both ways. I'm comfortable with both, but for me, it's kind of just letting my eyes lay on it and try to get us in the best play.
Let me talk to both of you about this, halftime adjustments. What do you do to make adjustments if you see the game plan is not working as you would have liked, or
Sure.
if you are in a situation, let's say, as it was when you got down 13-0 and you're
Right.
playing against a team that was a grind it out, chew the clock up, and, run the play clock down to the last 2 seconds all the time. What do you do at halftime to make adjustments?
So we knew going in, we had the conversation last weekend that possessions were going to be limited. And we had to be efficient on every possession and try to put the ball in the end zone, because when you're playing the triple option, they are bleeding the clock, and they do go on those long drives, those long possessions. You know that there's going to be 3 to 4 possessions short. You're going to be 3 or 4 possessions short in what you would be in a normal game. And so, when we get into halftime and over the course of the game, you look at, okay, why are we not successful? If we're not being successful, maybe moving the ball or stopping them the way we thought we were. And is it because we're not executing, or because they're doing something that we weren't ready for or hadn't seen? And so if it's because we're not executing, it's going in there and reinforcing, okay, this is what we're getting. We're getting exactly what we thought we were going to get. This is what we have to do to be successful. And if they've come in with a different game plan, well, then we have to make adjustments on the fly. And so that's really where, having experienced coaches like Bo and Bryce and some other guys on the staff, where we can see what they're doing, and then we have enough experience to adjust off of that, or to reinforce to our guys, hey, guys, we're getting what we thought we were going to get. We just have to trust the process.
Bo, how about when you say, if you're in a situation where a defensive team is creating problems you didn't really expect, how do you make that adaptation?
Yeah, I think just like Coach said, with Coach King, he's a really good X's and O's coach offensively, or on the O-line. So, he's constantly over there with the iPad, talking to our guys and, telling them, he's changed how we've blocked schemes, sometimes in the middle of drives that have helped us out. So really just lean on what the assistants are seeing up top, and then what we're seeing on the iPad, and then just being able to adjust off that. I think last week was more of an execution thing. We knew what we were going to get, and then just kind of like Coach said, letting guys know, where the execution's messing up,
How has the iPad changed coaching? Because, when I was coming along, there was nothing like that. And you had, you had the guy up front with the film camera, and you'd get the film back maybe on Sunday afternoon. Right. But the bottom line to it is the iPad has done a lot that just has changed. What has it been the biggest changes?
So I've never had it except for when I got here. So it's been a blessing for me to be able to, especially with young quarterbacks, being able to go over there and show them, what they're reading, and, kind of going through it slowly with them to where, they're seeing the same things I'm seeing from the sideline. So that's been wonderful for me with a guy that's inexperienced at quarterback. And I think you saw in the second half he was able to really, take the next step. I felt like he took the next step in the second half and was able to make some throws to kind of calm his nerves. And, that iPad was a big deal on it. What's it like to have an experienced running back like Noah Spencer to be a workhorse as he has been?
It's crucial. Anytime, in football there's a saying, the running game and defense carries, right? So that travels. And so the pass game may or may not always be there, because you never know about rain games, cold games, but a ground game and defense always carry. And so if you've got, those two things that you can lean on, you're going to have a chance in every ball game. So if you can always turn around and hand the ball off to a guy like Noah or Titus, and have an offensive line that blocks for them, and our receivers are really balled in and blocking downfield, you've always got a chance. And so you're never really out of a game.
Another young man I wanted to mention, because he was in on an enormous number of stops the other night, and that's Nate Height.
Yes.
He just has a tremendous ability on the field.
Yep. Nate's got a good nose for the ball. Nate actually didn't play football his junior year. Nate's a soccer player and played his freshman, sophomore year, and took his junior year off from football. And so we were fortunate that he came back out this year. part of the recruiting the Halls, And so he came back out, and he actually started out at outside linebacker, and because he was so physical and had such a knack for the ball, we moved him to inside backer in the middle of the Trenton Peabody game, second quarter. And so he's been a crucial part of what we do and what we're doing. He's although he's a senior, by experience, he's a young guy, right? He doesn't have a whole lot of experience, and so his ceiling is so high for the rest of the year. He's only going to grow and get better every week.
That's just amazing. One thing we haven't mentioned is the kicking game, and how crucial that is, particularly the other night. Extra point makes the difference in the game and gives you the 20-19 victory. How crucial is that?
We talk about winning the margins. Close games are won in the margins. That's penalties, turnovers, special teams. Those are the margins. The stats that people don't always see. And we won the turnover battle. We won the penalties. I think we had 2 for 10, and they had however many they had. And then we won the kicking game. And so those are the difference, because you take offense and defense away, but if you win the margins, you got a chance. And so we won the margins on Friday night, and that was really the difference in the ball game.
Bo, how about on Friday night when you're playing a team like Trinity? What have you looked at from their defense that you think is going to be some of the biggest challenges you'll face?
Yeah, I think they try to create chaos with pressures and things like that. So we have to be good in protection and, communicate up front what we're getting. We worked that all week and, feel pretty good about it. But they've got some great guys, and we got to just win the one-on-ones when we get it.
And another thing that I've noticed, because we stayed on with it until we got to the very end, and we'll wrap up with this tonight, is that your post-game message to your players, and it just seemed as though they were all there, just really dialed into all of it. What did you tell them in that closing message on Friday night?
Yeah, how unbelievably proud I was of their effort and how they just kept competing. That was the number one thing that I told them was, I couldn't be prouder of a group of boys for fighting for 48 minutes. And we had told them it was going to be a fight for 48 minutes. And they bought in and they stayed locked into the game plan and the process. And, I told them the success that we've had in the first 2 weeks is not indicative of anything that's going to come.
Yeah.
You have to show up every day and work. If we don't show up on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday to work, for this week, then Friday night's not going to end up well for us. And so just because we won our first 2 games and we were successful, that's not any guarantee of anything that's going to happen down the road. And nobody hands out championships in August. Championships aren't won in August. And so this is a long process. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And we're just trying to get better every day. And if we get better every day, at the end of the season, we're going to be right where we need to be. And wherever that is where it is. But our guys are really locked in. And then always I tell them I love them. That's what this is about. It's about relationships and growing people. And so that's the number one thing for us.
Well, you've heard it all from head coach Derek Pritchard and from offensive coordinator Bo Wallace, and they couldn't have put a better bow on this about what is said oftentimes at the end of a game, and it certainly sent the players away knowing that it was a team effort that they successfully navigated in winning 20-19 this past Friday night. Well, this coming Friday night, it's another challenge. It'll be the first one. Well, we say on the road, it'll just be in unfriendly quarters at Trinity Christian Academy, but it will be certainly a challenging game. We will have it for you live on Worthy Road Studios and the BallGame Blitz Sports Network, and we hope all of you will be with us. Better yet, be there in person and join it. Bo, it's been so good to have you with us tonight. And, Derek, we'll see you again next week right here at the
Thanks for
Blacksmith.
having us, and go Bruins.
And see you all on Friday night. So until we're with you again on Friday night when we bring you USJ against TCA, this is Steve Beverly saying so long from the great hub city of West Tennessee.
BallGame Blitz Sports Network by Worthy Road Studios. With over 750,000 views in 2022, we are where you need to advertise. Please subscribe to our Worthy Road Studios YouTube channel and join the other 4,000 subscribers watching local sports.
The Jackson Rockabillys, Union and Bethel Universities, USJ, TCA, JCS, and Peabody.
Our multi-camera broadcasts include slow motion instant replay, on-screen scoreboard and graphics, and professional announcers.
Thanks to the sponsors who make it all possible. BallGame Blitz Sports Network by Worthy Road Studios, the premier sports broadcast network in West Tennessee.